Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Ascent Talks. My name is Ajit Panikkar, and I'm an Ascent member for over 10 years, and I lead Nova, an air conditioning company, and Pure Blue, a tech-enabled startup in the air conditioning domain. And my co-host is Aleem. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ajit. I'm doing well. Hello, Ascenters. My name is Aleem. I'm a marketing and advertising professional, and I run a company called Synapse. And we welcome you to the show as usual with my signature dialogue that no giveaways, but a lot of takeaways.
Absolutely, man. So, to all our viewers who is watching us for the first time, and if you're wondering what Ascent is all about, Ascent is a not-for-profit expression of Harsh Mariwala, Chairman Marico Limited, and his passion to identify high-potential growth stage entrepreneurs and enable them to grow their enterprise and enrich their entrepreneurial journey. Launched in 2012, Ascent today empowers more than 700 entrepreneurs across India. Ascent is designed as a unique, powerful peer-to-peer platform that leverages the power of collective through self-facilitated groups called trust groups, which enables entrepreneurs to share and exchange experiences, ideas, insights, and create a healthy ecosystem to learn from each other. Today's event, a weekly event called Ascent Talks, showcases Ascent members and their interesting entrepreneurial journeys. So, Alim, let's go and welcome our guest today.
Absolutely. And as you know, this show is called Ascent Talks with Ajit and Aleem, and it's called Ascent Talks with Ajit, Aleem, and Dr. Arora today. So, Dr. Sanjay Arora is the founder and managing director of Suburban Diagnostics and also medical director of Lalpath Labs, a leading diagnostic center and a pathology lab offering its services across India. He's also a TEDx speaker. Dr. Arora has spoken at various conferences and events, sharing his entrepreneurial journey, experiences, and learnings. Dr. Arora has graduated from Grant Medical College and JJ Hospital, with a special interest in cytopathology. He's also trained at the esteemed Tata Hospitals, Hopkins Hospital, and Henry Ford Hospital, USA. He is a passionate global traveler, amateur chef, travel photographer, DJ, and also a very, very good friend and family to me. Yeah. So, yes, Doctor, very excited to have you on the show today. And can you tell us about your business, nature, scale, some clients and solutions to understand your journey better?
Thank you, Ajit, and thank you, Aleem, for inviting me to be a part of the ANA. And you know, I'm glad I could also fit in through my surname as the fourth A: Ascent, Ajit, Aleem, and Arora. Uh, so as you mentioned, Aleem, I'm a pathologist by qualification. Did my MD in pathology from Grand Medical College, and after finishing my education, I started Suburban Diagnostics, which is today a network of diagnostic centers across Western and Central India. And about a year ago, Suburban Diagnostics merged with Dr. Lal Path Labs. And from being a founder of Suburban Diagnostics, today I'm also the group medical director with Dr. Lal Path Labs. And so my opportunity now is to be able to paint a canvas which was initially limited to Western and Central India, today to across the country. And I think the objective is to provide precise diagnostic services across the medical ecosystem, from both illness and the wellness side. And combined, Dr. Lal Path Labs and Suburban Diagnostics are by far the market leader across the country today.
That's amazing. Doc, when we actually released the promo for today's event, we got a lot of our members actually who sent out a message to me. He says, भैया get straight to the point. घुमा फिरा के बात नहीं करना. Get straight to the point. We want to know, why did you sell your business and how did you come up with the right valuation? That's the
Basically,
question
इतना
number one.
पैसा कैसा बनाया? Share it.
Share it. Tell us why did you do it and how did you get the right valuation?
And हम लोग का commission कितना है वो भी बता.
So this is a an emotional topic for me. People known to me, close to me, know that besides my two biological daughters that I have at home, I also have a third daughter, which is Suburban Diagnostics. So just like every child or every daughter reaches a marriageable age. Perhaps Suburban Diagnostics, as our third daughter, had also reached that right age. I have known Dr. Lal for about more than 25 years, and he and I have built a phenomenal relationship over this time. And there was always this interest or inclination that how can we come and work together. And we kept, staying in touch. I built a very strong relationship with his uh, managing director now, Dr. Om Manchanda. So there was an automatic comfort level that was there between me and the team at Dr. Lalpath Labs. I think one of the main reasons for this transaction was that we had private equity as our investor for the last almost 10 years, and it was important that I gave the private equity investor a fair exit. This exit could have been by bringing on another financial investor or a strategic investor. And as is a process of this kind, we engaged with a very reputed investment bank called Avendus, and supported by bankers who have been part of my journey for the last 10 years, Candle Partners. So together they, created an information memorandum, and they made out a pitch on who could be the potential financial investors, who could be the potential strategic investors. Um, and because you asked about this whole question on valuation, typically you would find that the valuation is perhaps slightly better when it is a strategic investor as compared to a financial investor. But before the valuation, I think uh, the reason for making this decision was also based on the fact that any financial investor wanted to have more than 50% equity in the business. Uh, they wanted me to still remain a part of the business, but they wanted to have more than 50%. All along, I have been running the business, where I have been calling the shots, So Anju, my wife and co-founder, and I thought that, if we have to remain part of the business, either we are there in it fully and we have full control over it, or then I think it's better to, find an opportunity to move out and, play a different role. And that's where I think we looked at the opportunity of strategic investors. We had a whole host of, interest from various people. Uh, so while valuation is an outcome of multiple things, your business, trajectory, your future projections, your profitability, the opportunity for growth, what are the synergies that you find in the businesses. Evaluation is a multiple, checklist, sort of, an outcome of all these points. But what was important to me, specifically with Dr. Lalpath Labs, was that they were very keen to retain the brand, and that was very important for me. They didn't want the brand to become subsumed under the Lalpath Labs umbrella, and they were very clear. Specifically, Dr. Om Manchanda was very clear of maintaining what he called as a twin brand strategy of having Suburban Diagnostics as an independent brand and Dr. Lalpath Labs. So I think retaining the independence of the brand, retaining every people who have been associated with the brand for the last so many years, and getting a valuation that is actually fair. And I believe a fair valuation is when both the buyer and seller feel that they have left something on the table. That's when you feel that it's a fair valuation. Because if the buyer feels he got a great deal, sooner or later the other side will have a problem. So I think a good deal is when both feel that okay, they've left something on the table. So that was perhaps one large reason. The other reason was that I was also witnessing a significant change in the industry, and the way in which I had built up my business was very organic, by building those strong relationships between doctors and patients, and ourselves. Today, with the whole digitization of every industry and healthcare, not being left behind, the manner in which the change was happening in the industry, either you can rapidly scale up, or you might just get sidetracked. And I felt that, for Suburban Diagnostics to retain its identity and independence, it was good to align itself with what I believe is the strongest brand in the country today is Dr. Lal Path Labs. So it was also an opportunity of ensuring that Suburban Diagnostics continued to retain its, path of growth in the future under the umbrella of maybe a stronger brand. So that was the other reason why I felt that it was a good opportunity. And last but not the least, is that for the last almost 30 years that I've been running this brand, I've always remained switched on. I've never been able to switch off completely. And I think, my children, my two daughters, always knew that the top 10 priorities in my life have always been Suburban Diagnostics. They were fighting for who's 11th or who's 12th. And I thought it was an opportunity here also for me to maybe play a role where, I can get a good balance between my personal and my professional life. And I can also go back to focusing on the medical side of the business and not really focus on the commercial side. And the medical side is where my heart lies, what I'm good at, what I enjoy doing. So these were all the multiple reasons that actually made me consider that okay, this could be a good decision for the business.
Awesome. But Doc, for you spoke about the industry, you kind of consolidated yourself. Just for our viewers who are not from the industry, how big is this industry, and what are the opportunities that this industry is throwing up for entrepreneurship?
Sure. So when I started almost 3 decades ago, the industry was largely disorganized or unorganized and very fragmented. Over the last maybe 15 years, and Dr. Lal has taken the lead in that, uh, other brands. So we've tried to become more organized. Today, I would say about 20% of the industry is is organized, but 80% of the business or the industry is still unorganized. And that's where lies the opportunity. But despite the fact that there is, 80% unorganized and 20% organized, there is still very less penetration in health, by diagnostics. So people are very reactive because in India you have to pay out of pocket, right? So you would only do a test where you really, really needed to do it. So it's almost illness driven. So the opportunity lies in how can you make wellness more accessible, not just to the metros, but to people across the country. And that's where I think is the biggest opportunity is, we want people to do a test not only when they fall ill, but we want people to do a test not to fall ill. I think that's the
Yeah.
opportunity which we seek. And I think building a strong network across the country, moving from tier one, tier two cities into tier three, and maybe even, deeper down into the hinterland of the country, I think the opportunity is to increase penetration. So one is, of course, to try and organize the current size of the pie so that you become more organized. But the bigger opportunity I see is to increase the size of the pie. And today, I think diagnostics, the pie itself is very small. So what we saw was how can we increase the size of the pie to increase better penetration and focus on the wellness side. I mean, of course, illness is something which both Suburban and Dr. Lal Path Labs have been, pioneering, but also focus on the wellness side equally.
And to increase this pie size, what were the changes you brought about, and what are the things that you're thinking about now and things like that?
So I think, you know, when I started diagnostics or lab medicine, as we can call it, was almost like what we would call as a basement department, that it was not visible at all. And it was almost like a black box. You gave a blood sample and you got the report, and what happened in between was completely unknown. So, what I take maximum pride, Aleem, is the fact that I've been able to bring diagnostics from the back end to the front end, and also I've been able to give pathologists more respect in the healthcare industry. So today, a pathologist can actually walk shoulder to shoulder with any branch of medicine. We all know that diagnostics actually plays 70% a role in medical outcomes at less than 10% of the overall cost. So 7 out of 10 decisions that are happening are dependent on diagnostics. But diagnostics was not getting its due. And I think that's perhaps one of the biggest things that I feel I've been able to do is to bring that level of transparency, make diagnostics more accessible, more visible by bringing more objective parameters like quality, precision, accuracy, known to people, accreditation. So, for example, when we were accredited by a body called NABL, we were the 67th lab in the country to get accredited. Today, that number has reached about 2,000, but the number of labs in the country are over 2 lakhs. So, still that number is less. But making people aware that what is NABL accreditation, what is the quality parameters, what is quality control, actually, people who have visited our lab can see that it was a complete glass, lab where people could see what's happening behind the scene. Today, clinicians or doctors call us and discuss, what tests to do, how to interpret the reports, how do we treat the patients. So we have become a more integrated part of patient management. I think that for me has been perhaps the biggest, I would say, contribution to the diagnostic industry is to make diagnostics more integrated in medical outcomes.
Amazing. But Doc, the healthcare industry is also now going through a lot of digitization and with IoTs, and you can hear so much of activity that's happening around,
Yes,
predictive, like you spoke about it, not reactive but more predictive
right,
kind of a thing. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, is that the future, and how are the path lab industry going to work
sure,
around this? Because you're saying that you got to come and test in advance, but this whole industry is moving to a very different, where you get real time monitoring and everything.
correct,
So how does
correct,
that
correct.
fit in into the new
No,
era
great
that's
question,
coming in?
Ajit. No, it's a great question, and I think if I was to just simplify it, that diagnostics can be broken into three parts. There is pre-analytical, there is analytical, and there is post-analytical. The analytical part is what actually happens inside the lab where we get the sample and we do the test. So initially, a lot of our focus was largely based on improving medical outcomes through testing expertise or technology expertise, that bring in the best testing equipment, highest quality of results, faster turnaround time, things like that. So that still continues. But what has happened, as you just said, is that there is also equal focus now on the pre-analytical and the post-analytical phase. The pre-analytical phase is where digitization has made it more accessible, easier for people to reach out. You can go to an app, you can go to a website, you can download what test you want to do, book a test online, somebody will come home. So access has become far easier. Also, in my belief, over the next 5 years, 25% of testing that happens within labs will become what we call as point of care. And simple example being the blood glucose monitoring. We all do, the glucometer check through a finger prick. That is just one example, but technology is moving in such a direction that 25% of testing that currently happens within labs will eventually be accessible at home. So you'll be able to do a lot more testing at home. So while some amount of the routine testing moves out of the lab and becomes accessible at home, labs like ours, like Dr. Lal Path Labs and Suburban, will continue to move up the food chain so that we develop more complex, more sophisticated tests like genetic testing or molecular diagnostics, where the expertise of lab medicine is important. And the post analytical part is where you spoke about this whole data. So there is so much of data that every lab is sitting on today. What can we do with this data? So one of the things that we use this data for is, one is of course under the guidelines that have been set, where data privacy laws are very strict. We have to anonymize the data if we want to use it. So we use data to give trend analysis, and I think COVID was a great example on how this was used. That we saw how many cases every day, how many positives, how many active cases, which are the hot spots in the country. This is a great example of data management. So today we do this across various disease profiles, like how is malaria trending in this part of the country? How is dengue trending? So when a doctor actually looks at that trend and he gets a patient of fever, in his mind he or she is able to make up a decision, that in my area, dengue was actually
Yeah.
going down, but H1N1 infections are going up. And if he or she is not sure, these trend analysis can actually help that doctor take better decisions. So these are just small examples where better access at the pre-analytical level, trend analysis, using the data to get better patient insights, uh, targeted patient interactions. For example, if Aleem is has high cholesterol. Now
I do.
we can help him uh, become more compliant, so that we will send him a reminder that, Aleem, you did a cholesterol test 6 months ago. Your result was this. Perhaps it's time for you to relook at. So we help Aleem become more compliant. So it's targeted. It's only meant for Aleem. We will look at your data, and Ajit, we will send you targeted information which is related to you. So we also want to help patients become more compliant, and we're trying to create that. We want to incentivize patients to make positive lifestyle choices, and through these, data analytics, we are able to encourage people to take the right decisions, so that they also improve their health outcomes. So these are some of the examples that we can look forward to in times to come. And those pre-analytical areas where we bring point of care testing at home, most of them eventually will have IoT, where they will have access to an app, which app can be seen by the doctor. So there's no reason for them to actually punch their data in. The moment they do a glucometer test, if it has IoT enabled, the test results directly go to the app. The app is accessible if you give rights to your doctor, so the doctor instantly knows. So this is the way how healthcare is progressing in times to come.
So, Ali, what doctor is saying that, the next time you sit for a drink, there will be a phone call which will go to your wife, and you will get a phone call saying that, put that glass down, put that glass down, put it down.
And stop looking at that chick. But I tell you, Ajit, I there's a very interesting story about 7, 8 years back. I was in Dr. Arora's office, and from the conference room, some really 11, 12 very cool looking people came out, and my meeting was next. I asked Doc, who are these people? So he said, this is part of my Ascent group. And
Oh,
I was like, oh, what is Ascent? And then we got into a conversation, and that's how finally Dr. Arora introduced me to Ascent, and that's how I became a part of it. But Doc, tell us about your journey in Ascent. How has it benefited you? And secondly, I want to ask you, since you know that obviously the conclave is just around the corner, who are you looking forward to hear at this year's Ascent conclave?
So, Aleem, just like you and I have been friends, and I got the opportunity of introducing you to Ascent. Um, Somebody like you introduced me to Ascent, and gentleman by the name of Vishal Shah, who was part of the initial wave. I think Ajit was also part of the
yeah,
first wave, if I'm
yeah,
not
that's
mistaken.
right. That's
I
right.
was part of the second wave, which was 6 months later. So Vishal and I, Vishal used to help us with marketing many years ago, digital marketing. So Vishal actually introduced me to Ascent and said, Doc, this is a great platform, and I think you should be a part of it. And I had not heard anything of it. I went for an interview process. They actually had a panel of people who were interviewing us. And fortunately, I cleared the interview, and I was put into a trust group. Uh, I'll tell you that first day of this trust group, how it actually played out. And I will never forget this. And I think it's very important for everyone to know that trust group is made of people who are of the same size of businesses, but of non-conflicting businesses. Now, there was this one gentleman in my trust group whose wife was in the same business that I am in. His wife was or is a pathologist, but he was not a pathologist. But it was his, amazing greatness that he flagged it out and said, "Look, doc, my wife and you are in the same business, and I think it's best that I bring it out." And I think I will. It was a great expression of the trust that we have in Ascent. And I actually then changed my group to the group that I am part of today. But I will still remember that one gesture he made, and I mean, there was no reason for him to actually say it, because there was no direct conflict,
Yeah.
but because of his wife being, and that's what sets the foundation for Ascent, is this level of trust. And I've been part of my trust group for the last 10 years, and trust is such an implicit thing in Ascent that we speak things which perhaps we may not even be able to speak at home sometimes.
Yeah.
I think we truly bare our soul to our trust group. uh, we speak about all our business challenges. We become so close that we even speak sometimes of personal challenges, and some of us express what kind of issues we are going through. And the trust group is a platform where there is no judgment, uh, no advice. It is all experience sharing. If I have gone through an experience, I will share my experience with you, and we collectively help each other, you know take better decisions for business outcomes. And that has been my journey with Ascent. I think it's probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, Doc, we have just about a few 4 minutes left before we close, but we want to pick up this question which Nitin Shanbag has just asked you. He says, how do existing businessmen who are not in your field align in this field? I mean, Nitin, we know a man has built a business, he's sold, he's made money. That's why now he's asking the question, how do we get into your business? How do we align in this field if you're not in your field?
So I think that's a sort of a double-edged sword in the sense that today diagnostics in India does not have an entry barrier. So anybody actually who wants to become part of the diagnostics industry can start a lab. But the way in which diagnostics has moved over the last so many years, uh, yeah, I don't know what business Nitin is in, but if information technology is a part of his business, or
Yeah.
logistics is a part of his business, now these are two areas where diagnostic companies thrive on, information technology, logistics, uh, maybe because sample movement is a big opportunity. So these are two big industries that can play a significant role in diagnostics if people want to just get aligned but not actually start their own diagnostics. But I think these are two big fields which people can definitely find ways to align with us for.
Amazing. I hope, Nitin, that was brilliant. It's a brilliant question, Nitin, and I think you got a brilliant answer around it too. So we just have that's about time for us. And Doc, it's been fantastic listening to you.
No, thank you, Ajit. Thank you.
It's amazing, great inputs. I mean, I'm sure everybody's been clued on to this, and this is going to be watched again and again over the weekend. So thank you
Thank you
very
so
much,
much.
Doc.
We should
It's a
make a nice
pleasure to have you
capsule
with
of
us.
just that piece where he talks about valuation and just shoot that out because it's so important for people to hear that out. Thank you, Doc, for sharing. I know it's difficult sometimes to come out and say these things, but thank you very much for opening up and
No, no,
letting
thank you,
us.
Aleem. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for taking time to, host me and make it so easy for me. Thank you, guys.
Pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc. All right. So this has been a great fourth episode. Before we close, right now we have three things that you can do. One is if you're an entrepreneur and just happy doing what you do, follow us on that LinkedIn page and we will get you a new story every Friday at 11 a.m. that will inspire you. Now you listen, now you heard Doc and you heard four other entrepreneurs. Now, if you want to meet the Ascent members, 24th November at Mumbai, we have the Ascent Conclave. Go online. There are just last few tickets available. It's just a few days away now. 24th November. Go online, register, come for the event. It'll be a fantastic event, great lineup of speakers. And if you believe the next decade is in the era of India and you want to be part of this Ascent story, then go to ascentfoundation.in and apply for membership. Remember, it is not like a membership that you just pay and you buy it. It doesn't work like that. Apply for it, take some time out, and Ascent team will get in touch with you to uh, to figure out, to analyze that, and to decide whether you fit into the cohort and be part of the entire Ascent Foundation. So it's been a fantastic episode 4. We are going to meet you again next Friday at 11 a.m. with another Ascent member story. What do you say, Aleem?
Absolutely. And I think we're also going to have the conclave next week. So this will be a post conclave discussion, I think. Am I right, Ajit, or did I get the dates wrong?
Just a day after the conclave. So we're going to be, next Friday is going to be just day of the conclave. So it's going to be exciting episode. We're going to actually talk a lot on the conclave. So it'll be fantastic. So that'll be a
And we hope
fabulous
we're
day.
not hungover.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a late night and then we're going to be back here at 11 o'clock just talking about the
Absolutely.
conclave. So absolutely great. So guys, stay tuned. Next Friday, 11 o'clock, we'll be back in with a new story. Look forward for the Ascent Conclave. Don't miss that. It's got a great lineup of speakers. I'm going to put up those speakers right now. And that's the website, ascentfoundation.in. Thank you very much. See you next
Thank
Friday.
you.
See you
If you
guys.
want to get famous, then comment on this webinar because lots of people watch it and probably you'll get a lot of connections. So do it for yourself and also share some likes, some comments, some whatever you want to share. Good things, bad things. Yeah, we're always hearing. Thank you.
See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.